in 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the KD Ratio podcast. Tonight, I'm your host, Dylan, and with me are...
Kyle.
And William.
Ooh,
And
that was smooth.
William.
Ooh, I'm back
Say it a
from my
little
travels.
deeper.
William.
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
Consider me turned on. That was...
Shoot. Get ready for the next 55 minutes of pure bliss.
Well, William is back, and a bunch of awesome stuff happened over at Comic-Con.
Just a few.
Just a few
What's
things.
Comic-Con?
So Comic-Con is a convention where people go to talk about stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Right?
That was
Such a good description.
That completely captures what madness occurs in
Let's
San Diego.
move on past that.
I feel like
So-
I was there. No, it's have you guys ever tried to actually get tickets?
I want to
I
go
have.
at one point.
We need to go. Maybe we could go
I've
as
gone
media
to
at this
lots
point.
of cons, but not-
Media? We get our media pass?
We might get a media pass, guys. to
we're that
Comic-Con.
big.
Yep.
We've tried to go to San Diego Comic-Con, and it's impossible to get tickets.
It's literally, it might be a better system now, but oh my goodness. And it's even more crazy now, right?
We had, 4 computers going as soon as it was ready,
Plus our
refreshing,
phones. I
going.
think.
Really?
Yeah, it was
Phones, couldn't get it.
on multiple. I think we tried 2 years in a row. Couldn't get them.
Wow.
Did
Would-
everything we could, but couldn't get it.
Would you guys want to go and cosplay?
I absolutely, if I could get
Yeah.
in.
What would you go as?
Hitman.
All you gotta
Nice.
do is add the barcode
That's
and
it.
wear
Yeah.
a nice black suit.
And I'm done.
Kyle?
Oh, man, I don't know. It depends on how much work I wanted to put into it.
Yeah.
That's the real thing.
And also, like, for me, there's like a balance between comfort and cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's some suits that are like, oh my God, that is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. But then it's like, okay, one, you're probably paid to be here, first of all. But then there's the people who aren't. And then they are completely uncomfortable for like 6 hours. So it needs to be a balance between.
Yeah, if you're on your feet for 6 to 8 hours
It's gotta be
a
comfy.
day, you gotta
And you
like,
can't put your arms down to your sides.
Yeah,
because
like-
yeah.
if you're in full Master Chief armor, it's gonna suck after a little bit.
But like
Yeah, it's gonna be
Mass
sweaty.
Effect always has like a huge showing down there, like with the N7 stuff.
Yeah,
so
they
it's
do.
just it's crazy. But yeah,
I've always thought about doing like the Daredevil with the black bandana.
there you
Oh.
go.
Because that one's easy to make.
Yeah, the man with no fear Daredevil.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's
Ooh.
like there's lists online of stuff you can just buy
Yeah,
and it's ready to go.
That would be super easy too. You just
Yeah.
need like a black outfit, bandana over the eyes.
uh,
Would you have to make it like thin enough where the eyes are to where you could actually see, but it doesn't look like you can,
Probably.
or just be blind
Or
or
just-
just not see anything?
Embrace the cosplay, fully.
Oh man, I'm watching that new trailer through echolocation. It's amazing.
yeah, you have to like turn on and off your costume for sure.
Yeah, just
I-
roll up the hoodie.
When I was younger, I wanted to go as Mal from Firefly,
Ooh.
and
That would have been cool.
That
that
would
was
be
like
easy,
pretty
too.
easy. Leather
Yeah.
jacket, like a brown coat, basically, and then his gun.
And his
They
red,
sell
red
that kit.
button-up shirt or whatever.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there are easy cosplays that
But
are
I don't have hair
comfortable.
anymore, so I'm severely limited as to what I can do. And I'm not wearing a wig all day. No way. Those
could-
suck.
You could do a hairless version of a character.
Hairless version of Malcolm Reynolds from Firefly. Are you sure? That wouldn't even make sense. That'd be the worst ever. Like, no. I've got Hitman, Lex Luthor, and now I can go as...
He could be Black Adam.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely not, dude. I could be Gore the God Butcher. No.
That is true.
Yes.
He could
Throw-
be.
Throw some flour on my face.
That's all you do. No effort except for the flower on
In like
your
a
face.
bathrobe.
Like, what the hell are you supposed to be?
People might actually like that because it's like those low budget cosplays.
Dude, there's that guy on, does he do TikToks or something? Or YouTube
He just
shorts?
does memes.
Have you seen this guy
Yeah.
where he does basically 50 Cent cosplay stuff. Takes like old boxes and just creates stuff, and you're like, oh my god, how creative!
Takes a banana.
Yeah, so neat.
So speaking of though, Daredevil and all things Marvel, we learned about Phase 5 and 6 along with a lot of trailers. We're gonna touch on all of them, but first, let's dive into Marvel since that's kind of where we got most of the news around. So first off, Black Panther.
Ooh.
Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever.
Closing out Phase 4, the first phase in the multiverse saga.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to piece all this information together still. So the first saga was the Infinity War saga. So phases 1, 2, and 3. Now we've learned that this part of Phase 4, 5, and 6 are going to be part of the multiverse saga. So we can expect, I would assume, for the multiverse whole storyline to be wrapped up by the end of Phase 6. So maybe there's a reinstating of the TVA. I don't know. It might be interesting to see how they all wrap that up.
Is it just me, or are these phases like going quicker though? Because Phase 1, 2, and 3 was 10 years. Phase 4, 5, and 6 is like 6 years.
Not
Not the timeline. I'm talking about like an actual life. Like it's only taken 6 years to wrap everything, because Phase 3 ended with Endgame. Am I right on that?
Phase 3
and
ended
Endgame came out in 2019.
Was it Endgame
or was it Spider-Man?
Spider-Man.
I
No
think it was
way.
Spider-Man.
Either way, that was what, 2019?
Yeah.
And so it's 6 years to wrap up 3 phases. I mean, that's pumping out a lot of content.
Well, and I wonder though if you looked at it, if we're getting the same amount of movies.
I think
I
we
don't
are,
think we
just
are.
in a shorter time frame. That's why it feels like so much.
I think we're getting more series
Maybe.
than we are movies in this one.
I don't know. We're
Which
still
I'm
getting a lot of
totally
movies.
okay with. I'm totally okay with, but yeah, I'm not worried about necessarily the timeline being too short. I've seen that criticism online with like jamming too much stuff in there, but
I can kind of buy into it. I'm not super into the back to back to back to back, because I think I'm just more casual than you guys, but I'm feeling a little burnt out. But then every time I start to feel like that, they dangle that fruit right in front of my face, and I get pulled back into it. But
well, let's look at it this way. So we have Phase 4 completing with Black Panther, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is coming out this fall, correct?
Yes.
So then Phase 5, the first movie in Phase 5 is going to be Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, which comes out apparently February 17th, 2023. And then we get the Disney Plus series, right? Secret Invasion, whatever that is. I didn't really look into that
It's
one.
about, Captain Marvel, the green people with the weird chins.
Yes, okay.
It's
Skrulls.
about them.
Interesting. Okay.
Like they secretly invaded and replaced a whole bunch of people.
Oh,
hence
that could be kind of
secret invasion.
so that's just some side content that you can kind of, the way that I look at the way that they put these together, it looks like, the stuff that you really want to watch maybe is on the top, and then the stuff that you can kind of skimp on maybe is at the bottom. I don't know.
Hey,
dude.
I know Daredevil. I know.
Agatha, Coven of Chaos is what we want to watch.
Let's get to it. Hold on here. So then we got Secret Invasion, which is sort of like a passive show that you can just kind of watch. And then we got Guardians of the Galaxy 3 coming out, what is that, 2-3 months after Ant-Man and Wasp. And then the Echo series kicks off.
That could be really good.
That's
I'm
going to
looking forward
be,
to
that's
that.
a whole introduction of a new character, right?
Yes. Well, no.
She's not new.
She was in Hawkeye.
She was in That's, wait a
That's
minute.
the same Echo.
That's the
that
deaf
was-
girl.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's cool. All right. Well, I like that.
She's an enemy. Daredevil.
Well, they're
Oh.
like
Not enemy
friend,
per se, more like counterbalance to each
Yeah.
other kind of thing.
because one's blind and one's deaf.
Like literally.
Wait, the deaf girl from
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye?
Yeah.
Yeah, the TV series?
Yeah, I remember. Not the deaf girl from The Eternals?
No.
No, not that one.
Not that one.
No.
Okay.
Echo is very much like Daredevil, but
Street level,
But-
not
yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
So it'll be a series all about her and sort of her that. So that's kind of easy, passive watching, binge it, whatever. If you don't catch it right away, it doesn't matter.
I do want to go real quick to Secret Invasion. Billy, what if it is important and we learn that like one of the characters that we know and love is actually
Been replaced.
yeah, like all of a sudden Captain America's friend, Bucky, What a boom.
Bucky's been replaced by a Skrull forever ago.
Yeah, and we just didn't know.
Ooh.
See, so it
Even
might be
better.
important. That'd be cool.
Tony Stark has been replaced by an alive Tony Stark, and we get him back.
Oh my gosh, there we go.
Boom!
RDJ.
You heard it here first.
That sounds terrible.
Actually, I miss Tony Stark. I do.
I do too, but I don't
Yeah.
need him back.
No.
I
would like him in an advisory role or something cool.
Maybe we'll see that in Secret Wars.
Maybe. I'm sure he will find a way back. I guarantee you.
Does Robert Downey Jr. want to come back? That's the real
He was
question.
on the Joe Rogan podcast that I watched.
That was forever ago.
It was forever ago, and he joked with Joe Rogan. He's like, I'm too old, you know. And Joe Rogan's like, bullshit, dude. Like, you're beloved. Like, they love you as that character. Like, you're not too old. And then he kind of was throwing out like the idea of like, just, you know, maybe don't have to. You're in a suit. You're not like, you don't have to take your shirt off. You're not ripped. Like, if you're worried about that stuff. And Joe brought up like, you know, they would love you if you came back. And Robert Downey Jr. was like, really? You think so? Like, it was like a genuine like.
Like he doesn't know.
No, but he was like genuine like, oh, okay, maybe. Because I'll tell you right now.
I don't know about that. I think he's perfectly aware of how much people would love to have him back.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think hearing it from someone like Joe, who commands an audience of tens upon like the largest platform on the
Dude,
internet.
his podcast is almost as big as ours.
He's
I
catching
think
up.
hearing it
He's
from
getting
him,
close.
I think hearing it from him was like, I don't know. His reaction was very. I remember just watching and going, oh, that's interesting. He seemed like he genuinely appreciated the comment. Was like, oh, okay.
That was also
know.
before like Infinity War had even come out, though. That was a pretty old episode. Unless I'm like,
no, I don't.
Why would he
think
ask
so.
him about coming back? If
Yeah,
it was
no.
I
before?
feel like that was a while ago. Unless
No,
I'm
it
like
was
completely
after
wrong.
Endgame. It was after Endgame, I believe, because he was saying that he was basically killed off. He might have done one before Infinity War. He's probably been on there a couple times, but regardless,
Loki
anyway,
season 2.
Loki season 2. Out of this whole list, by far the most excited for this one.
You are.
I watched a breakdown of like all the stuff released and announced, and you know what this guy was getting excited for, and the music played for Loki, and I was like, oh, I was immediately transported back into that series, and I was like, God, I loved it so much. The music was so good in that. You remember it?
Yeah.
Because I remember you and I talking about how much we loved it. Because Kyle only read synopsises about it and watched the last episode. So
Loki just doesn't do it for me.
low key, bro. It doesn't do it for you.
Low key.
Yeah, quick sidebar. It was pre-COVID, the Robert Downey Jr. thing, but it was right after Endgame.
Okay.
But that feels like such like a lifetime
Like
ago
a
now
life-
that
it
it's
definitely-
like
Definitely does. Then we have the Marvels coming out, which is, I believe, it's a movie.
it's a movie and it's got
Miss
all the Marvel.
Yes.
And
There's three of them in it. I've
Miss
heard.
Marvel, Captain Marvel.
I was going to say Captain
I heard
Marvel's
there's
in it.
3 of them.
3?
Yeah.
Who's the third one?
Oh, God, I don't. Now I'm just talking out of my ass.
Yeah.
Keep going. I'll find it.
Then we
But
got
there's that. I'm not, overly. I feel like that sort of falls in the category of the Eternals. Kind of like, it's there. Not interested. Blade. I never was really a fan of the original Blades. I thought
Yeah.
they were kind of cool.
Monica Rambeau from WandaVision.
Pulse or whatever her name is now.
She's one of the Marvels.
Wait,
The
wasn't
the girl that got powers.
yeah.
At
but
the end
her
of
name's
WandaVision,
Pulse?
when she gets
Her superpower name.
Oh, I thought it was like Dominique.
No. Domino's from Deadpool.
Domino.
Yeah, so Monica Rambeau, Kamala Khan, and
Kamala Khan.
Captain Marvel
Carol.
herself,
Yep.
Carol Danvers. They're the Marvels.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
So Blade's there. I think it was just sort of.
I'm excited for Blade. I think that'll be pretty fun, but his storylines are always so drastically different from everything else.
Well, yeah, it's about vampires.
I'll be interested to
That's-
see how they're going to wrap that into the MCU. You know,
I put it in the category of it's Morbin time.
It's Morbid. He
it's-
kills Morbius.
Yeah. And I've said this a million times on here about my opinion on like demons and stuff like that. They're just I don't find them as an interesting enemy because they're just sort of mindless.
Mahershala Ali is a fantastic actor, though.
Yes.
And I'll be excited to see what he brings to that role because I haven't seen him in anything I don't like, at least yet.
What's weird is, so let's finish this and then I'll get into my comment. Agatha, Coven of Chaos.
Ugh,
You missed Ironheart.
boring.
Oh, Ironheart. Sorry.
I want to.
Did you want to talk about that? Did you see her forging her own Iron Man suit?
I just made that connection.
Oh,
In
really?
Black Panther, is that the heart?
Yeah.
Is that what that scene represents?
I believe so.
Okay. Like I just now was like, wait a sec, that looks like the same heart.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
so
that's going to
she's-
be kind of neat.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be cool to sort of to watch that. It'll be a nice little series to fill that gap. Agatha, Coven of Chaos. It's gonna probably come out early.
Well,
24.
okay, I'll hold. I guess I'll hold judgment until I know more about that. But her as a character, standalone, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's really that interesting to me.
Really,
Yeah,
I enjoyed
I
her
gotta
character.
agree with Kyle.
I enjoyed her.
I didn't say I
character a
didn't
lot.
enjoy her character, but imagine her without Wanda. I feel like it's going to be hard to
Dude, she was
make her
insane.
compelling.
Dude, she was insanely powerful.
But yeah,
Kind of, but also nothing compared to Wanda.
No.
Once Wanda came into
No.
her powers.
Well, Wanda, yeah, I mean, definitely, she was imbued with.
what if they
basically-
bring back Wanda?
What if
I hope they don't.
What if Agatha is the hero and Wanda's the villain in this one?
I actually kind of see Blade and Agatha like sort of blending with the the witchcraft and the stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know where they're going with that, but it is cool to have a darker side to the
Maybe
Marvel
they'll
universe.
lean more into the mysticism of Blade rather than just vampires.
Ooh.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's a hunt. He's half vampire. He's a daywalker. They call him, I think, something like that. And he's pretty OP when he wants to be.
Is he gonna go into a vampire nightclub again?
I
Oh, God.
highly doubt it.
And then Daredevil,
Born again.
Born Again. So
They know what the people want, man.
Yeah.
18 episodes
18.
for one season.
big boy
Yes.
series.
That is fucking dope.
Big boy series.
I hope they don't mess it up.
I'm worried. If you caught our Instagram, we made a meme about it, but we're a little worried that it's going to lose some of its bite and some of its intelligence.
But I mean, I do have hope from watching like Captain America and the Winter Soldier
Yeah, but
or
I
Falcon
mean,
and the Winter Soldier. That one was
Well, it says Born Again.
Gore.
So is it going to be relaunched
it's
completely new?
quote unquote a soft reboot. It's
Okay.
not
Yeah.
erasing the canon of the Netflix series, but they are taking him in a
Some
new
liberties.
direction.
Yeah.
well.
okay.
And if I'm mistaken, Kyle, wasn't the last time we saw him? Didn't he like almost die?
Last time we saw him, he was fighting Kingpin. Kingpin beat the shit out of him.
Oh, that's
he
right,
beat
then
the
he
shit
beat
out
him.
of Kingpin. They basically nearly killed each other. And then finally Daredevil came out on top and he had this epic moment where he's screaming at his face because he's about to kill him and he's like, no, you can't change who I am, that kind of thing. But I'm worried because Kingpin didn't exactly get the best treatment on Hawkeye. I didn't hate him like as much as some people did, but he was so much better in the Netflix series than he was in Hawkeye.
And was the Defenders? Was that before the last season of Daredevil?
Yes.
Okay.
It was. It was like Daredevil 1 and 2, Defenders, then 3.
That's because I'm thinking of the Defenders ending where like he sacrifices himself.
Yeah, no, he had made a full recovery by the time season 3 came out.
That's right.
So, and then rounding out Phase 5 is Captain America: New World Order. With
I
the
like
new
that,
Captain
honestly.
America.
I like that better as a series than I do a movie, at least right now. I don't know how I feel about that being a movie.
Yeah, I mean they set up a lot of. Well, they obviously set up the Power Broker as being the main bad for this one.
Potentially.
sort of set all that.
Yeah.
You don't think it?
Well, there's also another series coming out that has the Power Broker
Oh,
in general, so I don't know if she'll be involved.
which
with,
series is that?
I think it's not till Phase 6, which we'll
Oh,
get to
okay.
after this.
So that rounds out Phase 5, which is interesting because when we get to Phase 6, the only ones that are announced are the 2 Avengers films.
And
then-
Fantastic Four.
And Fantastic Four.
I saw something with the Power Broker in it.
So
Maybe it was just the Captain America.
But what I find to be the most interesting is the Eternals are nowhere to be found in any of this. And I was just looking up here while you guys were talking. The Black Knight that was announced at the end, that was like nothing.
Well, he's
coming
probably
from that.
going to be in the Blade.
You think so?
Well,
Blade is at the end.
Blade takes him at the end.
Yeah.
He says, "Come with me. You got a lot to learn," or whatever
So
he says.
you think that's his introduction into?
It could be. It could be like not Blade's still the main character, but maybe he's there.
Right, as a sidekick.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how they blend all that.
Yeah,
But,
I think Eternals. I think it did a lot of world building, but I think they'll probably be more prominent in the next team up film than they will be in their own movies. Like I could see them easily make an appearance in the new Avengers Kang that was announced, Kang Dynasty.
So let's talk about Phase 6.
Well,
got-
but first off, hold on.
Okay.
Between Phase 5 and Phase 6, we know of six. We know of the 3 movies in Phase 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 movies in Phase 5. So 8 movies over the next 3 years have been confirmed.
That's pretty cool.
I don't think that that's too many.
No.
I don't. I know it seems to be a common criticism out there, and I know, Kyle, you're sort of on the fence about it. But I just don't.
I don't mind that if I think that they're like if they deliver quality stuff.
If the quality doesn't drop.
If the quality doesn't drop, then I'm fully on board with you. I think that's the more the merrier. I think that's great. I'm a little concerned just based on our recent movie experiences. I wouldn't say that I disliked either of the films. In fact, I stand by what we said in our reviews when it came to Doctor Strange and Thor. But it's very easy for me to recognize that the quality in both of those films kind of dipped a little bit. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not on the same level that we've seen in the past.
I hope that was just due to maybe COVID.
Hopefully, but how long can we keep blaming things on COVID?
I know, but those
forever.
movies were probably being
Forever,
filmed
I guess, yeah.
during that time.
So Phase 6
Phase 6.
in November of 2024.
3 bangers of movies.
of a movie.
Fantastic Four.
That's right.
So the only confirmed cast member is
We don't even know.
we don't even know John Krasinski.
I mean, come on.
It's got to be.
It has to be, right?
But they haven't said anything.
They're like, oh, we don't know. That could just be a different.
But they even
multiverse."
came out and said that they did it because he was like a fan, beloved by the fans. Like,
Yeah.
how many people jizzed when they saw him come out on stage? I mean, come on.
So it'll probably be him. I wonder if it'll be Emily Blunt as Sue Storm.
I was also reading. They were talking about the differences. There's this video I watched where they're talking about the differences between alternate timelines and alternate universes. And at least in the MCU. And so like Spider-Man, all 3 Spider-Man, those are alternate timelines, but they're not alternate universe Spider-Man. And then everything we saw in Doctor Strange, those are alternate universes, which I guess they're trying to make a distinction between those 2 things.
Good luck.
Wow.
It's getting insane.
Good
Like-
luck with making that distinction. Because then you have 2 different people in the same timeline playing the same character. Like, I don't know. That's good luck making that distinction.
It's
You'll
getting
have to sit me down. So, yep, Fantastic Four. And then closing out 2025, we have Avengers, the Kang Dynasty, and Avengers, Secret Wars within 6 months of each other.
It's a bold move.
Do you think we have some bangers? Why do you think they didn't release the full Phase 6?
Because I bet you a lot of them are still in development.
Yeah.
And then also they want you to be hyped for the more
Arc.
immediate releases than the
Way in the
further
future.
ones. And also just in the movie itself might be a spoiler. There might be a movie based solely around something that happens because of something that happens in Phase 5.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of reasons I think that they
I
would
totally
hold
agree.
that.
I totally agree.
Like, imagine if they, announced Ant-Man and the Wasp, a new one. Then it's like, oh, Ant-Man's not going to die
Yeah,
in
like
the next Ant-Man movie, but maybe he is. Maybe it's just a Wasp.
no.
No.
The Wasp.
Scott Lang is loved, man. Paul Rudd, everybody loves that guy.
Yep. Well,
You kidding me?
so was Tony.
Yeah.
No, Billy, I got
He was given a full treatment though. He wasn't
Yeah,
just
he
killed
was.
off in his third movie.
Billy, I got a theory for you. You're gonna love
I
this.
got my
okay?
diaper on.
You got your diaper on? Okay. You see Avengers Secret War? Right? You see that? You see the title card?
It's not colored, so
No, it is colored. You see the colors? It's black and white. You know what else is black and white?
Oh, I think I know.
Spider-Man's
Venom.
black suit. And that's when he originally...
Avengers Secret Wars is actually Spider-Man 5 or 4.
I swear to God, man.
But isn't...
You guys are
Kyle, weren't you
relentless.
saying that that's originally when he put on...
In the comics, he actually got the black suit from Battle World.
What is the
In-
black suit?
It's
The
it's symbiote, but
So Venom?
Yeah.
yeah, so Venom. But in the comics, they kind of reworked the origin. But originally, it was this advanced technology that they were developing on that planet that these heroes were all fighting in. And Peter, obviously not being, compared to some of these other heroes, not on the same level, took it as like an advantage to.
Well, why don't you explain to the listeners about what this secret planet is and fighing and what
So-
Secret Wars is expected
So
to
Secret Wars, God, it's been a long time since I've read it. I was a kid, but it's basically like Hunger Games heroes of Marvel style. Like these people are forced into like gladiator arenas to fight on like Battle World. They literally call it that. And we got a little glimpse of things like that with Thor Ragnarok, but it's like that, but like on another scale. And so Peter is one of the ones that get pulled into that. That's probably the only reason I read it is because I was in love with Spider-Man.
And
But-
as you can see...
So then do you think like Kang conquers the universe once again, and like as we saw a little bit in Loki, and basically enslaves any hero like strong enough to challenge him?
I
That's
think it's
almost
very
what I'm thinking.
possible.
Mhm.
And then then he puts them in this sort of Hunger Games type situation to have them kill each other. And then the whole plot of Secret Wars is to them to somehow escape and break out and murder him.
That's
I-
very possible.
Oh, boys and girls, we are onto something here, folks.
I think we are, especially the coloring.
In
being
3 years,
Symbiote Spider-Man.
shut.
So in the comics, though, it wasn't Kang that brought them all together. It was
It was
the
other guy, right?
Beyonder.
Yeah,
The Beyonder, which is another like practically omnipotent being.
but isn't didn't they say that they blended those characters with Kang or something? The great God, it's been so long since I watched Loki, but weren't they saying, was it Feige or whatever, that they combined Kang is also, when he's at that level where he controls the entire timeline, he is like the one who knows or whatever. He called himself that. Is that character or is that a different character?
Well, Beyonder is like at least in the comics. I don't know what they've said about him in the MCU, but I know that he's a very like defined different character than
Oh,
Kang.
okay. Okay.
But I don't know if they said like, this version of Kang is going to be like an amalgamation of other characters. I don't know if that's very possible. They definitely haven't stuck to the source material like 100%. Like they've taken many liberties, and so I could see them doing something like that.
Because the Kang we see in Loki is like basically he above, like him above all or whatever. Or
Well, the one above all.
the one above all, like he's basically that. He literally,
Yeah, the one above all doesn't. He's not.
he's not even a
Like,
character. He's not even a thing.
He's more of like an Easter egg.
Yeah.
And he is an observer. He doesn't interfere in the same way that Kang does.
But like Kang had that. I mean, we're talking like he controlled literally. When you even think about that, he controlled everything.
Mhm.
Everything. There was like, and if anything even had a chance of breaking, he stopped it. You know what I mean? Like just absolute insanity.
So let
For
me give you
eternity, he basically did that.
this is the lineup of the heroes and villains that fought on Battleworld in the Secret Wars arc. There's all the Avengers that at the time included Captain America, Captain Marvel, Hawkeye, Iron Man, She-Hulk, Thor, Wasp, and the Hulk. 3 members of Fantastic Four, including Human Torch, Mr. Fantastic, and The Thing. Spider-Man was also there. X-Men, including Colossus, Cyclops, Nightcrawler, Professor X, Rogue, Storm, Wolverine, Lockheed the Dragon, and Magneto. And then Deadpool was pulled in a little bit later. And then some villains were Absorbing Man, Doctor Doom, Doctor Octopus, the Enchantress, Kang the Conqueror. So he was actually pulled in by the Beyonder in the comics. Claw, the Lizard, Molecule Man, Titania, which is the villain in She-Hulk, Ultron, Wrecking Crew. And basically Beyonder says you will fight to the death, and if you win, all that you desire will be yours. But you also don't have a choice. So it is literally like the Hunger Games for heroes. So I don't know how they're gonna. I mean, Kang is in Secret Wars, but he's actually not the instigator or the one that brings them together.
So I wonder if they'll change that. I could see them making that change of because I mean, the way he's set up is it's not on the same level as the Beyonder, but it's very close as far as he conquered all the multiverses. Of course, he can probably put you all in a Hunger Games type fight.
Galactus is in it too.
In the fight?
In Secret Wars, yeah. It's no joke, man. It is probably. I'm surprised that they're doing it because it's probably the most insane, over the top arc that there has ever been.
That's that's the whole idea of the multiverse, though. It's so wild. It's such a crazy concept to tackle. I think they sort of, where do they go from here is now the real, I don't know.
Can you imagine?
Maybe they simplify it.
Even if the story sucks, can you just imagine all of these
difficulty?
people fighting, in a scene?
I don't even know how you, write a script for that. Okay, Dr. Doom does this to Hulk and Magneto, then Chuck's, who's on what side? You have to have all those storylines developed to that. I don't even know. Maybe you don't. Maybe I don't know. I'm not even going to speculate. I did want to mention, though, I was realizing that we didn't go over one last thing in the photo I was looking at for Phase 5 is Thunderbolts, because I saw that and I was like, oh, it's kind of interesting. All I know about it is it's sort of like Marvel's sort of Suicide Squad. It's like people imprisoned that sort of now fight crime. That's what I understand it.
My understanding of them is very limited, to be honest. I never read that.
I think I only know of them because of Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Yeah, I that's where I remember them from too, but I don't know anything about them.
Do you know any other characters from?
Looking at it now, I mean, it looks like it changes.
Because I was sitting here and I'm like, wait a minute, where's Thunderbolts? Because I remember reading that one and it looks kind of like a cool concept.
So I mean,
while you guys are looking at that, I wanted to bring up the Guardians 3, and how there's a bunch of leaked trailers because the people at San Diego Comic-Con were able to get. I don't really understand. Usually, when they come out with a trailer, at least from my experience, they drop it the next day. It's been a freaking week or so now, and we still don't have the trailers, and so where people are leaking online, their phones recording.
And more than that, they showed whole movies at Comic-Con.
Yeah, that's really crazy.
The Thunderbolts is where I saw was going to feature the Power Broker very prominently.
And okay.
She's like the Amanda Waller of Suicide Squad. Of this
Marvel side of it.
The most famous ones you guys know are Ghost Rider, Bucky,
John Walker,
Red Hulk,
Johnny Walker, Red Hulk.
Hulk.
Interesting.
I don't know. Well, he hasn't even been introduced in
I highly doubt
MCU, so I don't know. Maybe in She-Hulk he will be, but
so yeah, I don't know.
Zemo?
It'll be no.
Yeah,
Zemo's gonna be in it.
Yeah,
hell yeah, that'll be it. What is he gonna do?
I don't know.
Mastermind everything.
I hope he's the main, he's on their side until the end. If he revealed that he was pulling all the strings, that'd be cool.
With his Turkish delights.
I don't know.
He'd trick the children into telling him things.
But Guardians of the Galaxy 3, we learn a little bit more, I guess, about Rocket, and maybe his origin story.
And this is Drax's last.
And did you? Oh wait, is he actually in this film?
He is.
Yeah.
He
Wow.
wasn't there promoting it, but he is in the film.
So he filmed this whole thing and then quit.
Yep. And
Okay,
the only reason
cool.
he did it is
Well-
because James Gunn got brought back. He
Oh,
actually was-
I remember that now.
Well, and I think he told. I mean, I think it's going to be a conclusion in this movie for Drax. I don't think it's like they filmed it and then he decided he didn't want to. I think he told James Gunn like, "This is my
is it.
last."
And so they figured out a way to
Probably write him out.
respectfully write him out.
It's too much effort to say
But
this.
he
Jack.
is in the Christmas special, and I'm not sure when that one comes out.
Christmas. Did
but
you
what
guys
Just
year?
a wild
see,
guess. Christmas
But what year?
I think this year.
This year. So he's in that.
Did you see
2030.
Groot?
The trailer?
Yes.
It looks interesting.
Dude. No, not the Christmas Groot.
No,
the character.
Yeah.
The
The TV
animation
show?
where he's jacked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that looks sick, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I like it. It's gonna be fun. No comments from you guys?
I
think I like the animation change. I like that we've seen baby Groot. I like we saw mature Groot. But now we're seeing like sort of middle-aged Groot, chiseled,
middle-aged Groot based
chiseled.
off Thor.
I think I do have some comments. I think it'll be terrible. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think it'll be a lot of fun. I do think it's definitely not going to be one of those ones that really adds anything to the overall narrative, but that's okay because I think every now and then you just need something like that to just enjoy and watch and have fun with, and I think that's what that's going to be.
Yeah, Guardians has always been that like sort of a palate cleanser.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Lighthearted,
Thanos
but
was
also emotional.
Thanos also was very heavily involved in the Guardian storylines, though, and so the Guardians are the reason we learned more about Thanos.
Yeah,
Mhm.
But at the same time, yeah, it was sort of like good palate cleanser as far as like after something terrible happened in one of the episodes or one of the movies, then Guardians came out and it was just lighthearted fun, even if the storylines were intense, it was still Guardians. So it wasn't like, terrible or anything.
And then we also got the She-Hulk trailer too.
yeah. Let's get into that.
Did we not get into that? I swear, sometimes I confuse what we talk about before we start recording versus.
We definitely didn't talk
No, it
about
was
that
just
yet.
before we started recording. But did it
looks-
change your guys' opinion?
Yeah. I was never like I was really bummed about the CGI, but I always took it for what it was going to be, like a really lighthearted, fun, simple show. And I feel like it's showing that it's just going to be like a funny TV series.
Mm-hmm.
And the CGI quality definitely stepped up. There's still some scenes where you're like, what are we doing? Like that, like there was one where she's sitting at the desk and
Wong.
clearly half of the room was completely just superimposed in the image because it was way too polished. And then Wong standing there in his like real gear and you're like, it's like night and day. This is pretty bad. But
jarring.
yeah, it's definitely jarring and it's kind of scary because it's literally coming out in like what, 15, 20 days. So, I don't know.
And
where it's
Dylan, you
gonna
brought
be,
up a
but-
good point that she looked better when her hair was up.
Yes.
The hair down, for some reason, they don't animate that very well. It looks very static.
Mm-hmm. I want it. Maybe the budget is all spent on the hair.
Well, if you think about it, like how many shows actually CGI hair or movies CGI hair? I can't imagine that being that detailed of an art asset or an animated asset in CGI software, because usually you'll just put on a wig and then you'll just wear green.
You know who did it really well?
Avatar.
And, yeah, is Avatar. They CGI'd hair very well.
Yeah,
in that film, and
that's why it
probably
takes 20 years
because
to make.
they, their people have sex with their hair, so they knew there'd be close-ups on it. But it looks great in that movie. So that's one thing you can't say about Avatar. You can say a lot of things, but you can't say that it looks bad.
No.
No.
I did see some controversy, and I'm interested in what you guys think about it around
Avatar?
She-Hulk.
Oh.
No. People were mad because she breaks the fourth wall, and they're like, that's Deadpool's thing.
It's literally what she does in the comics.
Yeah, it's her thing in the
Exactly.
comics too. It's not a ripoff of Deadpool. It's the source material.
You can't
Thank
have two
you.
characters
Preach.
that break the fourth wall.
No, you can't.
Come on.
Yeah.
Green.
I think
allowed.
I mean, I don't even have much more to say other than that's a stupid argument.
Yeah.
If people are really upset about that, I mean, you can say a lot of things, but that's not one of them. That's
Nah. Deadpool does it and it's hilarious. Why can't she do it?
Exactly.
So funny.
I love how like there is a self-realization moment after she does it. She's like, "What the fuck?" And they see Bruce in the background, like, "What the fuck?"
are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they both are like, "What just happened?" I thought it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
So we've talked about Marvel a bunch. I think in order to be fair, we should just
Well,
touch.
before you do that,
Okay, we're finishing up.
Daredevil
Mm.
and She-Hulk.
That's
we
right.
we talked about Daredevil, but we didn't get a chance to really dive into it. What do you think his role is going to be in this series?
I mean, like you were saying before we started recording, is he's a lawyer too. So maybe somehow it's going to relate to them like being able to bond over the fact that they're both crime-fighting lawyers.
Do you think that they're going to be at odds? Like, as far, do you think she's representing, because she's representing Emil Blonsky? Do you think he's going to be representing the other side?
That's how I take it. They're going to be competing lawyers, and then they might get into fists.
See, but Daredevil, at least, I mean,
He's smart enough to know that he could not take She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he would know that.
he would be like, "Let me try this out." Maybe you know
Not
what?
today. Captain America's like spin kick.
He's blind, so he doesn't know she's green. He just thinks she's a big woman.
I feel like
Someone explained to him her powers.
He's like, "Oh, this
He's like,
is just a big woman."
she's a giant woman, but since I can't see that she's green, she's probably okay to fight.
yeah.
There might not even be a single fight between them other than verbal. You know,
Yeah.
I think that'll be mostly what it is.
I think they might team up against some variants that get on the loose.
variants.
Yeah, something like that. But it'd be interesting for sure. I really like that Daredevil seems to be being
More
brought
prominent.
in and not just a cameo. You know, like I feel like they're really actually doing him a good
Doing justice.
to the character for sure. And
Which
Charlie
I am
Cox
happy.
is probably just delighted right now.
I'm so happy for that. He was a great Daredevil.
That
He
is
is a great Daredevil.
that is a great example of a character being brought back and saved without the community being as aggressive, and they were very respectful about it. They were very, like, don't get me wrong, I loved Zack Snyder's Justice League, but his fan base got very toxic for a while there. They were like threatening to, like, you know, burn buildings down and stuff, like, to get what they
Jesus.
wanted. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but like Daredevil's fan base was very calm, very, you know, respectful about it, and they got what they wanted. So maybe we'll wait till it comes out. Hopefully they got what they wanted. We'll see.
Well, moving on. I figure we should barely touch on it. Not much happened on the DC front, but there was Black
You'd rather
Adam.
talk about this than Lord of the Rings?
We'll get there.
We'll get there. A quick sidetrack because
all right.
Okay, we wouldn't be a podcast for all things nerd
if we only talk about Marvel.
Yeah.
So they showed a new Shazam trailer, and then they also had a Black Adam like Q&A, and people learned that Henry Cavill isn't Superman anymore, and they were mad. And so
I'm okay. You know,
Yeah.
distance yourself from that at this point, because he's moving on to some cool projects.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
And I at this point, sad to say that I have like zero investment in DC. Like I don't think I ever had investment in DC, but it's just I don't.
It got brought back a little bit with Zack Snyder's Justice League.
But now I just
That's
don't.
not
care.
even. It just was like a better movie. That wasn't an arc or any. I like. I feel like
They just never.
They never win anything with it. Yeah. I feel like they just are reactive to whatever Marvel does.
Yeah.
And then it's like, no, you be your own thing.
Yeah.
And be okay with that.
Now they have the Flash movie that they've been working really hard on, and then here we have Ezra Miller, who they're probably going to fire.
They have.
They have fired him. So this movie is going to be.
You know, that's not going anywhere.
It's like there's no future for DC besides Shazam and Black Adam.
And it's so sad because DC has literally some of the best some of the best written characters.
I mean, I guess we have Batman, but that they said that was like its own thing.
It's nothing to do with
It
the
has
extended
nothing to do-
universe. You
But
know,
like imagine a Batman-led like sort of Avengers type thing where there was an arc and they wrote their own story or pulled from
right
some
with the
source
Bat
material.
family,
with with the Joker and all the like
Robin, Nightwing.
it could be incredible and it could be darker than Marvel and it can be rated R so they can really tap into some things like it could be so cool and unique and they just literally react to
DC
Marvel.
literally has 90 or like over 90 years of like content to pull from. And with what you said, Will, they have some of the greatest written storylines in the superhero genre. And we have yet to really see anything other than Batman.
Mm-hmm.
We've yet to really see anything brought to its true potential.
Well,
I feel like.
And I mean, I've always said that I've always liked DC Comics more than Marvel Comics. But it's like the movies, why can't they just... Why?
Why can't they just create their own identity?
Yeah.
The Batman, that really steered into the dark and like the more
Christian
mature
Bale series?
Well, that too,
Or-
but I'm talking about Robert Pattinson.
Pattinson.
That really steered into the dark, more mature audience levels of content, and DC is good at that. And for some reason, they're like, no, we gotta be funny like Marvel, and we gotta, and like, there's nothing wrong with like, think of the Christopher Nolan films.
Yeah.
They did not hold back.
No.
They were dark. They were gritty. They were very grounded in reality, and they did amazing. And they could do that with all their heroes.
And honestly, that Christian Bale trilogy, I think, is probably my favorite trilogy of any superhero film.
The Dark Knight is probably the most well written and best acted hero film.
Yeah.
Ever.
That is like easily probably top 10 just favorite film of all time.
Another
movie.
another example of them going dark and getting away with it because it's really what DC is meant to be is the Joker.
Yeah. It just got a sequel.
Yeah.
It's a weird musical, but whatever.
Yeah,
know.
did we even talk about that really? That was weird, right?
It's odd.
It's very odd.
Who knows? It's probably going to be decent, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Very strange. I guess they're trying to mix it up, but I don't know.
But yeah, so that's what happened with DC. Not much going on, unless you like Shazam or Black Adam. And
Shazam looks good.
Shazam does look good. I was a fan of Shazam, but it's like it's at this point with Shazam, I'm not excited for the future because I know that the universe he's a part of doesn't really exist.
It's crumbling.
But I guess they've never really fully established him in that universe because they never showed Henry Cavill's face and they never showed Batman's face.
Well, they
even
did
though
in
were
this trailer.
referenced. They showed whose?
They showed Ben Affleck's Batman in the trailer.
Oh, true.
My phone didn't understand.
I didn't understand that.
Didn't understand that, but yeah, they showed Ben Affleck's Batman in the trailer.
But
so
what if that's just
why
editing?
are they like
Referencing it?
why are they referencing a dead franchise
Yeah.
in this new movie? It makes no sense.
So it's just
They don't have like a Kevin Feige on DC's team.
They need one so bad.
Yeah,
They need him and like a team to really say, let's plan out the next 15 years. Like, and let's do it right. And make the investment because you're handing like Marvel is King Dick right now, like in terms, and it's not going anywhere. Look at we're seeing Dungeons and Dragons made into a movie, and you got Chris Pine doing it, and it's got probably a $300 million budget. Like, it's just insane the scale of this stuff. And these are all geeky, nerdy things. Nerds and geeks have money, a lot of money now, and they're spending it on entertainment like this.
Yeah.
So there's a market for it. Create your own market. Don't just copycat Marvel.
Yeah.
Steer into what's made you great. And I always loved that DC was that darker, edgy thing. Like
More real.
Way more real. I always like Avengers stuff.
Superman.
Avengers stuff. Yeah, except Avengers or Superman. But
But even his storylines are still dark and
rooted.
gritty.
Yes, but like Avengers is always like flashy. Marvel's like really flashy, like very very colorful, very light humor. Like it's just kind of fluffy. That darker, like gritty, gruesome, like. It's a struggle. It sucks. You see blood. You see all like that is unique to DC, and they could kill the game if they did that, but they don't. Who owns DC?
WB, Warner
Warner
Brothers.
Brothers. Yeah, that's why it's on HBO and all that.
And they own Universal, or they're owned by Universal, or
Warner Brothers is its own studio.
it's its own studio, but they partner with Universal all the time, right?
No.
So like
Warner Brothers owns Universal Studios.
No, we've had
No?
this same conversation on this podcast before. The only collaboration is at Universal Studios. There's a Harry Potter world, which is owned by Warner Bros. But they don't. They're not the same.
Because I was saying, like, they could even do like a DC world, like they do Avengers Campus. They could do like something like that. Like they could introduce this stuff to bring it into the pop.
Well, yeah,
culture.
Six Flags has the Justice League actually.
It's not. I mean,
It's not even that big, but
yeah.
that's where they are right
Think
now.
about like
Six Flags.
superhero
Flags.
nostalgia of the 90s is pretty much dominated by DC.
Yeah.
90s and early 2000s. God, there's so much they could do.
So much.
It's just wasted potential.
Well, it's just reactionary. I feel like 2 years later, after Marvel does it, they announce something that's like, oh, it's the same thing. Like their biggest thing that they've done in the last 5 years is a remake of a movie that was bad with a different director. Like, okay, like that's kind of sad. You have, like Kyle mentioned, 90 years of amazing content to draw from, and that's the most exciting thing you've done. When Avengers is out there, killing it with billion-dollar films. Like, you don't want any piece of that? Like, what are we doing?
Nah.
Who's doing
They're
this?
good.
We're good.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at it. The Flash, it's a multiverse thing. Of course. Of course.
Which he has always been known in the comics for doing that kind of stuff. But
do they need to go to that storyline right now? But like DC multiverse doesn't even make sense to bring. Why do you even need to go there?
not with Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
That's a walking time bomb. No one's gonna want to watch that guy in theaters now after all the shit he's done. He's a terrible human being.
I don't even know anything about this.
Oh, God.
Gee, all you got to do is look up his. He's just a
he hit a
crazy
lady or
guy
something?
that needs to be on, like, needs therapy.
Multiple
honestly.
times, I'll give you a brief summary. Multiple times in Hawaii, he had like domestic assault for assaulting people. God. And then he kidnapped a underage girl that he was dating,
Jesus.
I think. And yeah.
There's like this video of this fan that like annoyed him and he just starts like choking them. And it's like a girl.
Yeah.
Like he's psycho.
And they still made a movie with him?
Well, and the thing is from what I've read, I mean, this is according to the internet. It's because that like he's surrounded by people who don't want him to get help because he spends money on them.
Yeah, but he doesn't. He spends money on the director, the fucking owner of Warner Bros. He swings a bigger dick than him.
He's been getting away with all of it because there's always been like, oh, this was a joke we were playing. Oh, this person decided not to testify against him. Oh, and it's finally catching up to him. And he ended up, they said that he's been released from any future Warner Bros. Projects, which is literally his whole career because it's the Harry Potter films. Apparently he's a character in the Harry Potter
And that character
movies.
died.
And they killed off that character. And then they said he's no longer going to be in The Flash anymore. So they're like, you're done. You're an idiot. And I hope that he,
Way to go.
I hope he learns how to grow and change as a human being from this. I don't want to wish any kind of negativity on someone I don't know personally. But yeah.
No, definitely. You always want him to get help, but it's just sad that yet another nail in the coffin for DC.
Yeah.
It's not even like a coffin at this point. Like they can just, it's waiting for them. Just start doing a good job.
Just completely reboot it. right now.
Come out with the timeline. Phase 1. Just do something.
Just
lay it out.
Just build it off of your only successful film in the last year, the Batman.
Yeah.
Just build it off of that.
Exactly. And literally do well, you just missed Comic-Con, but like literally host your own thing, set up a phase, tell them, set a journey, start a narrative, and start getting the hype train rolling. Because guess what? Like, the same people who love these Marvel movies will dump money into DC movies. Guaranteed.
If they're good.
If they're good. Well, even if they're still bad. Like,
Batman
nerds
can
are bad.
easily be the angsty, brooding, emo version of Tony Stark for the Justice League. Like, they could very easily salvage this if they
build
just
it off of that.
build it off of the Batman and set it in that tone. You know,
Well,
it's not devoid of humor.
Yeah.
It's just treated differently.
Dude, Gotham has so many unique storylines and villains and shit. It's awesome. You could steer inside of that for so long before you even touch any multiverse shit.
You don't have to go nuts right off. The Avengers didn't go nuts right off the bat.
Took 15 years.
It was 6 heroes. And we thought that was mind-blowing. We were like, oh my God.
they're all together.
Look at this.
We didn't even mention, though, there's Aquaman 2 in the works, and then I think another Wonder Woman for
Wonder
this
Woman.
dead universe.
Man.
Dead movie.
If she's,
I don't know. It's probably going to be fine.
If she's... I like Wonder Woman a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I was
first one
actually...
was good.
I was pretty bummed out about the second film. I
First
still
one
think
was
it
so
had good moments, too.
Yeah, the second
but
one wasn't horrific. I didn't think it was so trash, but it fell from the first movie.
Well, the first one set a really high bar.
Yes.
That's when that one came out, that's when I really started to get hope for the DC Extended Universe, was when the first Wonder Woman came out. And I was like, this might actually be something great.
And then
it fell apart.
But like, to me, Wonder Woman is probably one of, if not the most Marvel-like character that DC has. I feel like she is so similar to like the style of way she's dressed and the storyline, and
She predates a lot of Marvel, though, too. So I would argue that
maybe Marvel stole that.
I would actually argue that a lot of what Marvel has taken has been copycat versions of DC, and now it's just so ingrained in us because they've done so much better. They've killed the game that we like a lot of people forget that DC did it first, you know. But that's exactly what I mean by 90 years of content that they can build off of.
Yeah, so I don't know. Lord of the Rings.
Yep, Lord of the Rings and Dungeons and Dragons.
Let's start with Dungeons and
Yeah,
Dragons.
I was gonna say that. Just do Dungeons first.
Dungeons and Dragons.
I think it looks good.
Yeah, I think it looks good.
I'm
do. I know Kyle mentioned before we were recording that the song choice was a little off, and I do kind of agree with that. It feels like they're trying to go with like a Thor Ragnarok type vibe.
It's like DC made this movie.
Yeah, it feels like they're trying to copy the trend. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
you know what? A lot of people loved it when this song was in this trailer. Let's do it. I would have rather if they would have had like, for example, we're going to talk about it later, Lord of the Rings. If they would have had dramatic music like that, I think it would have been just as good. Probably better.
Maybe they're trying to separate themselves because they knew that they were releasing this at the same time they were releasing some Lord of the Rings hype.
And so people were like, oh, that's just the same thing as
They're
Lord
trying
of the
to
Rings.
differentiate. It's a lot more high fantasy than Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Like it's very like much more in your face with some of the themes.
But I still think the world itself is like pretty neat. And I think there's a million storylines to go with in Dungeons and Dragons. So it's just more and more nerd stuff coming to the geek stuff coming to the surface.
I'm all for that.
It
I'm
is
all for that.
interesting. The one part that I thought was the movie studio is Hasbro Studios.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they're going to start trying to do more Hasbro titles, like what, Transformers?
I think that's Hasbro.
Hasbro?
Well, Hasbro is failing as a company. Bad.
Maybe this is where they come back around.
Well,
Dungeons and Dragons.
Let's see. Because Hasbro is sort of like Disney, well, like a miniature version of Disney in terms of content. Hasbro, I believe, owns all like the Barbie stuff.
And they're making a Barbie movie coming out next year.
So they needed to find a way to bring their content to
The Hasbro Cinematic
2022.
Universe.
And so there you go. The multiverse will be the first place they go.
We'll have Barbie crossover with Dungeons and Dragons.
I'm all for this movie, and I want it to succeed. I'm not really sold on it based on this trailer alone. But it's one trailer, and it's also not doing enough for me to be like, I'm not watching that. Like, I don't think that at all. I think that we have no idea what the story is going to be, because they're probably going to treat this movie the same way that a dungeon master treats a campaign. They're given the lore, the book, the story, the rules, and then they create their campaign based off of that. And that's probably exactly what the director is going to do, just with the movie version of it.
Wouldn't it be cool, though, if they were setting this up for a series, which I think they are, because, like I said, Hasbro has been basically failing as a company for a very long time. It'd be cool that they set it up as, like, this is the first quest.
Well, this
in
is
a chain of...
It already has its, like, it's already a subtitle. It's
it
Dungeons
is.
and Dragons Honor Among Thieves.
Yeah, you're right.
So it already sounds like it's set up for a sequel trilogy or something.
And then they can go into the multiverse. And
Meet Ken and Barbie.
yeah, and you're right. And then there you go. Boom. Ridiculous, man. Absolutely ridiculous.
Let's see. So here's some titles.
Oh, no. From
that-
Hasbro?
Yeah. It's actually not bad here. So Hasbro has Transformers,
Thank you, Transformers.
G.I. Joe, Power Rangers, Rom the Space Knight. No idea what that is.
Huh.
Micronauts, Mask, Monopoly, Furby.
Mask, like the...
The Mask?
like
like Jim
what's
Carrey's
Jim
The
Carrey's
Mask?
The Mask?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Monopoly, Furby. You remember Furbies?
God, I love that.
Nerf.
Nerf?
Twister. The game.
Oh, they made games, yeah.
Yeah. My Little Pony.
Battleship, right?
They make kids' toys like Barbie. That's yeah.
They have a lot of subsidiaries.
So
They basically own
I don't know how they're gonna make a multiverse. I think we should just put that.
Oh,
aside.
we're joking about that.
I know. I'm just kidding.
But think. No, just kidding.
Fortnite.
No, they do not own Fortnite.
Oh, they own. If any,
They've leased content to
if any
them.
toy
Yes.
is so the toys based on Fortnite
they
are developed by
manufacture them.
Hasbro.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, they may have leased like some of their characters to Fortnite. I'm like, that is not.
Mr. Potato Head.
The Mr. Potato Head Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm all for Dungeons and Dragons being successful. I don't want to take that away.
Yeah.
But let's go to Lord of the Rings.
Yes. Ring of Power.
Rings of Power.
Rings of Power.
11 and
It's just the one ring of power.
there's 11 rings of power, correct, Kyle? No,
No,
more than that.
Yeah, isn't it 13?
There's 11. No, what? 11 were given to the elves.
How?
No, 11 were given to the elves. 13 to men. 7 to men.
20 rings.
Yeah, 7 to men. 5 to dwarves.
God, it's embarrassing. I've seen it so many times. All right.
I think it's more than 20.
How many rings?
I think it's 11. Yeah. Either way, so that we've got a couple trailers now. Trailer 2 dropped a little while, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. And then the Comic-Con trailer came out. You're starting to see the budget in reality.
Mm-hmm.
This thing has, like we were talking about before, movie quality CGI in a TV series.
And cinematography. Movie quality cinematography.
Honestly,
thank you for bringing that up because it from this trailer, it's starting to look really blended well. So visually, I think this thing is going to be.
I didn't see anything visually that looked
cringe
at all. Mm-hmm. Everything looked just absolutely fantastically crisp. It looks like a ready to be released product visually wise.
Yeah.
Back to the rings. So there's 9 rings for men, 7 rings for the dwarves, and 3 rings for the elven kings.
Oh shit! I had that way off.
Yeah, and then the one ring to rule them all. The
3 elven kingdoms.
The one ring to rule them all, which brought it to 20. Which the one ring was forged in secret, and the other rings of powers, obviously, At this point in
They
the
didn't
timeline,
notice.
I don't think the One Ring has been forged yet because it sounds like they're fighting over the
19.
the 19 other rings that were gifted to all the other people.
I made it my mission this year to read the Silmarillion before the show kicks off. So I need to get on that because I adore Lord of the Rings, and I'm so excited to have this. And I know that there's some criticism, because Lord of the Rings is untouchable, and it has been for years. It's why it took, from the books, it took 60 years before Tolkien and that whole thing allowed a movie to be created about it. And it was,
Was
even
Tolkien
longer, 80 years. I think it was ultimately his son that did it, yeah.
Yeah.
But, it took that long to be able to bring that content in the real world. And then it was done exceptionally well. Filmed at the same time. It was the most daring project ever, and probably until this new Amazon thing, where they put up $1 billion for 5
What
seasons.
about Avatar?
Fuck off. What a fucking about Avatar.
That is the most ambitious movie.
All it is fucking 40 fat white guys programming CGI. That's all it is. It's fucking talentless. No, I'm kidding.
No story, no acting, no nothing. It makes me want to kill myself.
Took the words out of my mouth. No, I'm just kidding. So I visually, it looks exciting. I like the setting of it. I think it's gonna be. I just think it's gonna be good. How do you screw up $1 billion? I really don't know. I think with the commitment to 5 seasons, that alone gives this thing such a strategic advantage where they can develop such a lengthy plot. Even if it doesn't even get renewed after the 5 seasons, or maybe their plan is to just end it after 5. I don't know. Or they do spin-offs or something like that. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it is
I
good
hope
that
that
dies.
it's a self-contained
I agree.
5-season thing.
I would agree. So they can do this thing from start to finish. They have the whole vision in place. I think strategically, they are doing everything right about this. And I'm so excited because I love Lord of the Rings and I want to see more content. Because there hasn't been any content. The Hobbit is basically the same thing, but, didn't quite live up to Lord of the Rings, but it still was really good for me. I enjoyed it. So this is just another continuation of that content. It's been, 8 years since the last Hobbit. 2014 was the last one, I think. So what has it been? 8 years, 9 years since the last sort of Lord of the Rings content. So having this in place, have they released any information about the structure of the show? Like 10 episode seasons,
I don't
hour
think so.
long?
I haven't heard anything.
I don't think so either. So this is what I hope. And I'd love to get your guys' feedback on this as we sort of conclude today. How would you like to watch this show? Do you want it to be sort of the Disney way where every Wednesday night, one episode drops, and then, you sort of, you watch it and then it trends on Twitter for 24 hours or whatever? Or do you prefer the Netflix way where the whole season drops? And you can binge it and really fall off a cliff in immersive viewing.
I like the binging way more. Honestly.
Do too so much. I do too so much.
Because I think it just works well for especially a long series. Because it almost turns into a movie, right?
It is.
You commit multiple episodes and it's like.
And you're there for the whole thing. Yeah.
And it's fresh.
Yep.
You remember what's happening.
Yeah. I don't need a 4-minute recap cutting into my 30-minute episode, that Disney does. I don't mind the way that Disney does it because it's just how every show's ever been done. But Netflix, I think, hit on something. And you could do part 1, part 2. I'm okay with that. But give me some meat. Give me 4 to 8 hours of content that I can just go, okay, I'm getting off work and I'm doing this till midnight. And I'm crunching this out. So because the way that I can just fall into a series where I'm just doing that is so much stronger than when I'm like, oh, cool, it came out, and I sit down and play it. It's like I'm still distracted. I'm not quite by the time I get settled in, it's halfway over, and then there's something about that. So, Kyle, what are your thoughts?
I think we're all in agreement on this one. I'm notoriously impatient on wanting to know things. wanting to figure out what's what. I always spoil things for myself because I have no self-control.
Yeah.
I just can't. And so if they do it the Netflix way, I'm all for that. I want to see everything right up front. I want to get sucked in and immersed, and I don't want to watch that was my main gripe with Obi-Wan. Like, here's 30 minutes of something very interesting, and fuck, now I gotta wait a week. Like,
Yep.
I want to see it all at once, and I want to get pulled into it. And I know that's not how television was historically, even up to 10 years ago, I think, is when they really started to find success on the streaming market. But I think that it just works better for how I like to enjoy content.
How has Amazon done it in the past? You guys watched the Invincibles or whatever with them.
It was all released at once.
They released it once.
Okay, so they have a
there's
history of doing that.
Yeah.
I really hope. Please.
I know. So I know that there's the fan base for Lord of the Rings is pretty toxic.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not trying to put down how people feel about this show. They're perfectly entitled to that.
Real quick, Kyle, just want to touch. The Boys is released episodically, not all at once. That is
true.
an Amazon series. Just
That
wanted
is
to say.
true.
So
Okay.
it might not be like that, but keep going.
Okay. Yeah, Kyle, go ahead.
I'm not gonna lie, I lost track. Of
You were
us.
talking about
Oh.
the toxic fan base.
Oh, right. But that being said, yes, I mean, I can acknowledge that this might mess up some canon timeline things, and sure, maybe the casting is quote unquote like blind casting that they've been doing a lot lately, but both of those things are such non-issues to me that's not something that I feel like could
Lord
even
of the-
be close
yeah.
to ruining the show for me.
We've talked about that ad nauseum. Like, basically, Lord of the Rings is always going to exist on its own. Like, all the characters we're seeing in this aren't in Lord of the Rings, besides Galadriel and maybe some of the older elves. And, stuff
And
like
they
that.
mentioned Sauron,
But Galadriel's not even really in Lord of the Rings. Like, she has an immense influence in those films, but like, she's in there for like what, 20 minutes? I don't know. It's nothing when you consider it's 14 hours extended edition.
Yeah.
So like, who cares if that stuff's offset? I
think mainly in general, the timeline, they've really crunched everything down.
Yeah.
They said like what's supposed to take 10,000 years is only taking a couple hundred years or something
just
like.
for make sense.
Yeah, like they've changed some
constantly
things.
bringing in new orcs and new characters.
But it is what it is.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think actually if they were to bundle all of the episodes together, so like if they did, let's say, and do it the Stranger Things model, I didn't mind that, where it was like, so if you do season 1, you do part 1, part 2. Let's say it's 10 episodes long, you do 5 or 6 episodes the first one, and then maybe 3 to 5
I was totally
or whatever.
fine
the
with
second.
that.
It's totally fine, because it was like 2 or 3 weeks later that part 2 came out.
Yeah.
Don't fucking be that company that does part A and then 8 months goes by. I got to rewatch the damn thing just to remember what happens, and then don't do that. Do it 2 weeks, because I think you're absolutely right, Kyle. This is a toxic fan base. It's untouchable. Good luck. We live in the era of Twitter. That didn't exist in 2001 when this came out. When Lord of the Rings came out. So I think if they did episodically, where it was one a week, they're just going to get torched week after week, and it's going to sort of kill the vibes for it, I think. So
It's funny because the most toxic fan bases are like 3 of my most beloved properties. It's like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and anything from software.
Very
And
toxic elitist.
I know they're all so
so elitist.
and I'm one of them. But like
Let me ask you from a historical standpoint. I'm interested. Was the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, was the fan base hating on it before it came out?
I think it was actually received exceptionally well. That's
No,
because
before.
after they came out it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was some stuff around that, but like Will, like you were saying, this was before the internet had the voice it has now. That like you can get away with a lot back then without feeling any kind of pressure from the fans, because there was a very large disconnect that
I could just see like the Fellowship of the Ring, the first one, Twitter blowing up after that. No Tom Bombadil? That's a whole fucking core part of the movie or the books. God dang it! You fucking Tolkien's rolling over in his fucking grave. It's fucking bullshit, man. That's literally Twitter.
So I just imagine back when those movies came out, they went to their little Lord of the Rings fan club. And there's like 10 people.
Literally.
After the first one came out, though, it was received exceptionally well because they also treated the fan club really well. Like after Return of the King came out, almost the whole cast went and they partied with the Lord of the Rings fan club at like the wrap party. They invited all of them to show up and just for being a member of that fan club, and I think they thanked them in the credits too.
Wow.
Like
I do believe they did. Yes.
Yeah. So the movies now, people look back at them like, oh, they're just
treasures,
gold, untouchable. But everything strays from the source material a little bit. Even those movies, for as much as the fan base says they're perfect, there are lots of things that they changed from the books, and some of them they changed for the better, and some maybe not. But
dude, there's Fran, I believe is her name. Who's the lady that's Peter Jackson's right hand lady? I think it was Fran. Fran something.
Fran Drescher.
I don't know.
Somebody, can you look it up while I'm talking about this? So he had a right hand lady for a bit. It might have been his wife. I don't know. But she was there for the whole thing. Like she was as important as Peter Jackson was to these films.
Oh yeah, Fran Walsh.
Fran Walsh, thank you. And she wrote lines. So like that whole I believe she changed one of the lines like leading up to the so do all men who find themselves in such time. Like the book writes it like in this very like art thou men hast thou, like kind of weird old English style of writing. And so she did a lot of like the rewrites, and Peter was joking they did this really awesome like when COVID was going on, they did like a charity thing where they got together and did like a Zoom thing with what's his face, the guy who plays Olaf from Frozen, Josh Gad.
Yeah, he hosted it.
Yeah, he hosted it, and it was really awesome. I think it was like 45 minutes. It was cool if you want to check that out. But basically, he said on there like some of his favorite Tolkien quotes, because after all these years, aren't actually Tolkien quotes. It's Fran who wrote them for the movie
to make it sound
makes
better.
It feel and it feels more Lord of the Rings
authentic
than the actual original source material. So there's things that get better too.
You know what the
original
absolute
source.
best example of that is? And it's such a minor change, but for me it makes all the difference in the world, is when Gandalf is fighting the Balrog in the Fellowship of the Ring. Everyone knows his famous line where you shall not pass. In the book, he didn't say you shall not pass. He says you cannot pass.
Okay, that's Fran,
that is
right?
such a simple thing to change, but it makes all the difference. You shall not pass sounds so much more powerful than you cannot pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I thought you were gonna say he originally said like no pass, no go.
no, it's literally just the most minor
Ain't no way,
changes.
son. Sit down, boy.
And then same thing in Return of the King when Éowyn, when she kills, when she stabs the Witch King, and he says, "You fool, no man can kill me." And then she takes off her helmet and she says, "I am no man," and stabs him in the face. In the book, she says, "Look upon me. You stare at the face of a woman." It's like they shortened it and they made it more impactful with just the changing of the way something is said.
Yeah.
And so that makes total sense.
And I believe those were the main of the the rewrites of that was can be attributed to Fran. So she killed it. Way to go, Fran. So shout out
to her. I still need to rewatch those.
We're going to.
We'll plan a day.
Yes.
There's a drinking game that you will straight up die if you watch the extended editions.
It's like
take a shot every time Frodo looks like he's jizzed his pants or something.
Yeah.
And in like the first 20 minutes, you're fucking toasted already. And you're like, okay, I've got to stop. We printed it out and I have it actually, the rules in my game closet. But we printed it out and we literally made it 15 minutes in. I think we did 4 shots and I looked at my wife and I'm like, we have to stop if we're not if we want to remain alive.
I saw one that was like take a shot every time a meme happens because there's so many memes that got created from that got created from the films. Like, one does not simply like there's so many, and so that's another one.
One more step and I'll be the farthest. One more step and I'll be the farthest way. One more step and I'll be the farthest way.
I remember I watched a version of Lord of the Rings on YouTube that it said every time Samwise takes a step, he says, one more step and it'll be the farthest I've ever been away from home. But he says that every time he takes a step. And I was watching that and I didn't realize I was watching that until it got to that part where he says that. And then I got so immersed in it. And then I forgot because there's whole sections where it doesn't show Sam. But then he takes a step and one more step and it'll be the farthest I've ever been away from home.
That's so funny. Have you seen the one where like people, do these mix-up on YouTube where it'll be like, every single time something happens or whatever. But there's one, every single time a woman speaks to another woman in Lord of the Rings. And I think that's what it is. Literally, there's one scene and it's like a child talking to her mom. She's like, is that where we're going, mother? And then it ends. Something like that. And it was like, holy shit.
If you think about it, yeah, it's not a lot of...
Definitely dominated by male. It's a whole, adventure.
It's definitely dominated by male... like by males, but also Lord of the Rings has some of the strongest like female characters.
Oh, yeah.
I think in any property, at least for how old it was. Lord of the Rings, I think, was written in the 50s, and The Hobbit was written in like the 30s, something like that.
Well, look at Galadriel alone. Like even in Lord of the Rings, like she's revered as like even Elrond is like, oh, don't fuck with her.
Yeah, well, like just Eowyn, like
even Eowyn.
She was told not to fight because, not necessarily because she's a woman, but Theoden loved her, didn't want to lose her. And he's like, you can't fight. And so she like had to disguise herself as a man.
Battle. Yep.
And she, not only did she fight like a boss in that, but she also killed the Witch King. Like, this is a story that was written a very long time ago. That's pretty progressive for that time.
That's why I'm excited to see Galadriel. It almost looks like she's the main focus of this new TV show, and I was kind of excited seeing that.
I think it looked. I that's what I'm thinking too. It looks like that, and that kind of excites me too.
It'd be interesting to see like how the story of the elves, because she looks younger in this, not so much like a kid, but younger, and it'll be interesting to see like what they. Because there's elves that are older than her, but by the time Lord of the Rings comes around, she's basically the oldest of them all.
And elves get like more powerful as they age too.
And it'd be interesting to see like, do those all go to Valhalla or whatever they call it? I can't remember the name of their heaven.
Wherever,
I can't remember
where they go to at the end of Return of the King.
Yeah. Do they all travel there, and so then sort of leave her to keep. To manage the elves, or do they die off? Like, there's so many cool things. That
I wonder if we'll
learn.
see the creation of the wizards in this.
You don't think they were created by the end of? Because this is taking place between the first age and the second age.
Well,
right?
yeah, but in the lore, the wizards, like White Wizard, Gray Wizard, Blue Wizard,
Were created
Brown
later,
Wizards,
huh?
they were. Gandalf is not nearly as old as Galadriel,
you're
and
right.
she is she's pretty young in this.
You're right.
Which it's hard to tell because elves, they stay the same age looking for like longer than we can fathom.
Didn't Eru or whatever the god's name is in this universe, didn't he place the wizards to basically monitor to make sure
they all have a task.
Yeah. to monitor,
yeah.
so another Sauron doesn't occur, appear.
Which is why when Gandalf fought the Balrog and that happened, it basically they determined Saruman was no longer doing his duty, which is why Gandalf was reinstated as the White Wizard. And then
when he was reinstated as the White Wizard, is Saruman then demoted and stripped of that? Or is he still maintaining
slowly lost power over time when Gandalf became the White Wizard. And then that's why when they had their confrontation, it was by the time it got to that point, Saruman lost majority of his power and he just, Saruman, your staff is broken. And his staff just explodes.
Listening to this conversation as somebody who hasn't seen it in a while, it sounds so silly.
Silly? Excuse me?
Different colored wizards, and they get promoted and demoted based on their task.
Well,
it sounds like
demotion and promotion is probably putting it very.
He got promoted, and what he had to do for that was he had to die, go travel to this land between, train for tens of thousands of years, forgot his own name, and then in that exact instant in time, he was placed back into the real world, where he then defeated the Balrog and emerged the White Wizard, and had to remember his name when someone called him in. So we're summarizing promotion down to that.
Yeah,
that's basically what I did when I got promoted.
10,000 years.
I have lived a lifetime.
Although they definitely took some interesting liberties with that whole scene where Gandalf's fighting him. They're falling into a lava pit, crevasse in the middle of a mountain, and then they're on a snowy mountain fighting.
Well, that's because they took it very literal in the book. He actually, because they say it in the movie too, but in the book he says we fought on the lowest dungeon and on the highest peak. But they were basically trying to illustrate that it was such a great battle that they were all over the place. But to your point, there are a lot of things in Lord of the Rings that can be what? But the reason they get away with it is because they treat it with absolute sincerity and respect, and they never make a mockery of what can potentially be something silly, because they are very serious about how they present it, and it makes you as a consumer of that product be very invested in oh my God, he's not Gandalf the Grey anymore. He's Gandalf the White, which just on paper, you're like, what?
Yeah.
But seeing the journey in the films and reading it in the books, you buy into it because they don't treat it like it's a joke, even though it potentially could be.
It's almost like Tolkien ran out of names for shit.
Yeah.
He's the white, the blue wizards, the brown wizards, they were placeholders, and then he died.
And also, to be fair, we didn't even hear about the blue wizards, the brown wizards.
We still don't know about the blue wizards.
Until the Silmarillion came out. That actually is what clarified that. But Tolkien himself, it was actually just Gandalf the Grey and Saruman the White, because one wore white robes and one wore gray robes, and they were both wizards. And then later on, they added the context of
Radagast the brown, right?
Yeah.
Who is all about nature and animals, and there's Gandalf the Grey, whose sole mission is to look over Middle Earth and make sure everything's
He's the keeper
good.
of the secret fire, which is why only he was able to stop the Balrog. He's fighting it,
And then the leader of the Order, which is Saruman, and then there's the two blue wizards, which we
the oceans, I guess, something like that.
Even the Silmarillion doesn't there's nothing about them. It just mentions them.
I think they have their names, but no,
I don't even think they're named. I think they're just blue wizards.
Yeah, I don't think they're named.
I tried to watch a summary. It was there was almost no literature on them to learn about. But yeah, so there is no shortage of world setting in Tolkien's universe. This is why it's so respected, because this guy built such a detailed planet out. It's just insane. And it's just Middle Earth. Not high Earth.
Not low Earth.
Left Earth. Right Earth.
I remember when I was a kid, I was like, Dad, what does Middle Earth mean? And he was like not really equipped to answer that question, because like obviously he loves that series, but it's not like there's a real explanation of what Middle Earth is. And he was like, well, it's just Middle Ages but fantasy. And so I was like, okay. And I just
That
took
makes
it.
sense.
I was like, all right, I like it. And then so I just bought it as that.
Funny.
Why is it Middle Earth?
That's just what
That's
he
what
calls
he
his
called
world.
it.
It's some people call it Narnia. Some people call their worlds whatever, and he called his Middle Earth.
So what's above?
I think that, believe it or not, I really actually do think that there are different planes of existence,
I do believe so.
and Middle Earth is the plane of existence of like
Because he had other works too.
like organic beings.
Yeah. He had I think it's isn't it like there's like high tier creatures, mid tier creatures, like low, like he has a whole hierarchy and how they have powers, and I think maybe Middle Earth is like the middle tier.
And I'm not,
because there's like high tier beings like Sauron who then invade Middle Earth. I don't know.
I'm very far from
it.
an expert on that, so I don't want to venture too deep for fear of making myself look like a fool. But I do vaguely remember something about that in the Silmarillion, which I read it, but I won't lie, there were lots of parts that was kind of tough to get through because it was just information dump.
You have to
rather
take
than
notes.
being like an interesting. It was almost like reading a textbook at times. And and it was like,
well, because everything has unique names. You're being introduced to so much shit that you lose track. Like, yeah, the whole thing is so deep, dude.
Dylan, once we rewatch the trilogy,
We will indoctrinate you.
Okay.
You don't have to like it, but at least you'll be able to contribute to these conversations about Lord of the Rings.
You have to love it.
I will want to have sex with it.
It's
Take me along with you.
Based on like what you like, I can't see why you wouldn't, honestly.
I know that you definitely lean more towards sci-fi than you do fantasy. But I also know that you and I have very similar
King
tastes.
Kong!
Yeah, well, and
The
I
whole fucking monsterverse.
I like The Witcher.
Yeah.
You do, but you didn't even play the games until the series came out. Which is
True.
nothing wrong with that.
You didn't play any of The Witcher until the series?
I didn't have any
Wow.
group
I
of
remember
people that played it.
when
My
Dylan
opinion,
first
you
played
just
it,
no, I'm
actually.
kidding.
When Dylan was first playing through his playthrough, we were working together.
Yeah.
So every day we would just talk about it. And he'd be like, I just got past this part.
And you're like,
And
oh,
I'd be like, ooh, wait till you see this. Wait till he gets to this next part.
But I mean, I'm all for a world that has a very in-depth, cool lore. Like that's one thing I really enjoyed about The Witchers. It felt like a real world, and there felt like there's so much lore to explore in it. As for the Witchers and the sorceresses, so I was just really excited with that. So I think if once I watch Lord of the Rings again, I think I can easily get into it.
Yeah.
When's the last time you actually watched, not just seen clips, but actually watched it beginning to end?
It was probably when it came out.
So you were young.
Yes,
Dude, you would have been like 7 years old. Dude.
exactly. So I didn't understand
Yeah,
it.
it's time to give it a chance.
I was just like, huh.
When Lord of the Rings first came out, my dad actually, like, after we watched the first Fellowship of the Ring, I remember this very clearly, we spent like a good 2 hours discussing the film and talking about everything, and he really like made sure I understood everything. And then we did the same thing for the Two Towers. We did that, and then finally I saw Return of the King in the theaters. So it was like a very intense 3 days for me because I didn't see Fellowship or Two Towers in the theaters because my parents had determined I wasn't old enough at that time. But then Return of the King came out. My dad was like,
It's time,
honey,
son.
honey, he will never see this in the theaters again. We have to let him. and I don't know. I was like 8 years old, maybe 9. when did that come out? 2003?
Return of the King came out in 2003, yes.
I was 8 years old. I was born in 95.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so I think maybe because of
Your
the
balls
time,
blew off.
the time and dedication that my dad took with me in those films, maybe made me appreciate it more. Because he like spent time on it with me.
Well, I'll tell you what. Maybe the first time we watch it is one of the theaters here locally does a reboot of them, rewatch of them every year in a couple months. We should all go. They do one a week, and it's the extended edition.
Those are commitments, though. It's much more casual to watch it on the couch in a living room because they are so long.
And you can go to
But if you get a good theater and you're comfortable,
yeah.
Oof. But I'll tell you what, it's like, especially Return of the King, that's over 4 hours.
Oh,
the extended edition. It's it's Zack Snyder's Justice League levels of long.
Even longer.
is there an intermission?
No.
Damn.
You don't need one.
It's one of those movies too that like by the time you're done with it, you feel like you ran a marathon.
You're like,
Return of the King. Especially for the characters, they're like, oh my God, we just fought the most insane, intense battle of our lives. Okay, we got to go fight another one now. they do that like 4 times. They just go from epic battle to epic battle to epic battle, pretty much from like 2 towers on.
Well, my favorite battle, I've talked about this, is Helm's Deep.
Helm's Deep.
Oh my God.
When Gandalf shows up at the end, was it the third day? And he's standing at the top, and they charge, and he uses light to blind them so they can't see as they're running into him.
Rohan is the savior of both movies.
Rohan is, I really like their whole culture. I like them a lot more than Gondor.
Absolutely. Gondor's like the rich kids on the hill that forgot about everything.
Rohan is like basically like the Vikings of the Lord of the Rings universe. So
and it's Denethor's like fault for everything.
Yeah, it's also a kind of Aragorn for abandoning his.
But he didn't always know that was his. Like, he didn't abandon it. They said that there was rumors of a child or whatever.
Yeah,
but
true.
he didn't really know until later, and he didn't believe it. So, well, he did know he was a Numenor. I don't know the whole story.
He knew from Fellowship of the Ring on. He knew that he was the heir because, like, he went over to Isildur's sword in Rivendell, and like he paid his respects to it. And after what's his name, Boromir, just dropped it on the floor like a douche. Yep. He went over, picked it up, and he like looked at it.
Fucking Boromir.
Yeah. I say that, but his death, he's like, I would have followed you anywhere. What does he say? My captain, my leader, my king, or something like that.
Yeah.
Something similar to that.
It gets me.
Sean Bean, man, just can't survive.
Any movie.
Can't make it out of them.
Yeah, it's just it actually is almost necessary to show the corruption of that ring.
Yeah.
That like even the strongest, it corrupts them.
Yeah.
And
the only person that, well,
Aragorn.
for one, he never gave it a chance to corrupt him, but he's the only one that never showed any corruption towards the ring, but he also never even let it come close to him. Like when he was holding it out, he just like closed his hands on it and gave it back to him.
But how close did Sean Bean get?
Not even that close. He was not nearly as strong-willed though.
No,
like
he
was
wanted it the whole time.
He literally looked at it
like,
when they were talking about it in the Fellowship, and he was like,
"This could change the tide of the war."
Huh,
like, what?
I'll be the bear. It was really quick.
But when you know his background, like you go, okay, I get why he thought that. Like he watched his whole life was dying to, his whole, Gondor's fading.
Yep.
Everybody's dying. No one's helping them fight the orc and protect the lands, and they felt abandoned. And so, like, I get why he thought that. God, what a story.
Well, yeah, I think we've milked this far longer than we should have.
Yes.
I don't think so.
We could go on for much more because I have so many questions.
I know. If you listen to a lot of our episodes, you think that we're just Marvel nerds, but that's not true. There's a lot of things that we can talk about.
We talked about DC for a good amount of time.
Dude, let's talk about the James Webb telescope and the photo that took.
Amazing.
Holy
My mind was
shit.
blown.
Do you see that compared to the old Hubble photos?
Yeah.
It's night and day.
Oh my God. To think that, like the comparison is grain of sand out at arm's length, and it takes that photo, and you just look at that, and you're like, those are not planets.
Those are galaxies.
Those are not stars. Those are not solar systems. Those are fucking galaxies. And I'm looking at thousands. I don't know. I don't know how many. Some being ripped apart. Some with distorting light, which means there's a black hole in front. Like, the more you think about that, the more my mind bends.
Yeah,
it's just like, what the fuck?
I mean, there has to be other intelligent life.
What if we're the first?
It's pure possibility of that.
Like, the improbability. Okay, there are people much smarter than me putting together much better debates on this subject, but I just can't wrap my head around the idea of just the vastness of everything.
I know.
And to think that, like, it's such, for me, it's a very self-centered point of view to think that we are the only ones created in quote unquote God's image. Like, it's just hard to wrap my head around.
No, it
that.
is. When you see photos like this, I can't even comprehend the scale, because the Hubble, that original photo, which is also just insane. One of the actually core inspirations for me to like love science and things like that, just because it's such an eye opener. That pointed at the darkest part of the sky.
Yeah,
it was the darkest, and it takes 20 days to capture all that light. Like, it is like the best of our science and technology. And I heard something recently that was like, if we haven't been contacted by anyone, like that should be like a cause of concern. Like, it's kind of scary to think about.
I also think
because then there might be something in place in terms of evolution that, like, we make this discovery beforehand and it ultimately kills us before we can figure out like how to actually properly implement it. Or
by us communicating, we draw something to us.
Yeah.
That kills us.
It is likely that we are the only intelligent species within our little corner of the universe.
Yeah.
But I mean, with how massive, the universe is, there could be people quote unquote, there could be something even as close as like Andromeda, where they're just on our level or higher. And I say quote, everything is in quotes, close to us.
Yeah. You guys know who Michio Kaku is?
Yeah.
Yeah, have you heard of him, Dylan? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did a podcast recently that I listened to, and he's just a fascinating guy, and I love listening to him and his breakdown of like civilizations, where you're like a level 1, level 2, level 3, or stage. I forget how he discerned them, but it was like level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. And like we're not even at level 1 yet, where we like can harness planetary power.
Yeah,
like we're still becoming like a globalized society where we can harness things, like, but we're still victims to hurricanes, volcanoes. Like, these things happen, we can't control them. Like, we haven't harnessed the power of that. And so he thinks we get there in the next 100 years or so.
He actually did a whole video on the science of Mass Effect.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's a cool dude. I really like him. But he talked about like level 2 and level 3, where you like begin harnessing the power of like a solar system or like a star, and then like level 4, where you harness energy of like wormholes, where you can just like, you have unlimited energy and power, where you can just spawn across the entire universe. It shows you like we're in just such the infantile stages, and we live in such a cool time to be able to participate in these conversations and recording a podcast and uploading it to the internet. Like, just very strange, like what exists. And I'm just so optimistic for the future, because it gets me so excited to see all these cool things. And at the end of the day, all this is a telescope, but I think it's such a source of inspiration for young people. Mm-hmm. Like, you see this, and it's like exciting to see space research happen and like have this impact. Remember, we just recently, like 2 years ago, got the first photo of a black hole.
Yeah.
That had never been captured before, and we got that. And like, then, how amazing is that?
What was it, a few months ago? We got the first audio recording of a black hole.
Was that?
Yeah, that was a couple months ago.
That is
creepy, isn't it?
So unnerving.
Yeah.
Right? But it's like, I love space so much.
I know. It's just such an unknown.
Yeah.
I think that if we ever are in a first contact situation, we should play them our podcast to
Do you
really let
think-
them know what humanity is like.
the
well,
full capacity of
You
it.
have like the Pentagon like going out there and releasing footage of like these objects that are sort of randomly flying off. And
They have titled them UFOs. Doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily. I mean, they're unidentified flying objects. Doesn't mean they're alien, but it is.
They've admitted
interesting.
that they're not theirs though,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which is crazy. So either some other country is way ahead of us, which I doubt.
Like that one that took like a 42G turn.
Yeah.
Like
I
it.
think it was in the hundreds, but yeah.
Yeah, it was something nuts like that.
It dropped from like 100,000 feet to 1,000 feet in like 2 seconds or something like that.
And it also took like a 90-degree right angle,
Yeah.
like in a matter of like 3 seconds.
with no heat signature.
Like
produced from it.
that is, even if that's a drone, that's remarkably impressive, and I
Yeah.
can't wrap my head around how you develop something like that.
No, I mean, even now, we can't turn things that fast without them completely falling apart.
How do you think
from,
How do you think a first contact goes?
I think
So they visit us obviously because we're too stupid to leave our planet. And do you think they literally? This is always mocked and memed. Like, you think they literally just show up in Times Square and just stand there?
no. I think
What do they do?
there's-
Sit down with the 60 Minutes?
No, I think there's integration. I think they start slowly introducing themselves to world leaders and powers, and they have to figure out and determine who that is, because who knows what they think.
I'm talking about like the very first time. Like,
I don't think it would be a public giant like we are the Voltrons, you know, and like obey us. Like, I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's more subtle than that.
I personally fall more on the side that it's going to be some type of invasion. Like, I don't think.
why are you smiling when you say that?
He wants it to happen.
Why?
No, but I just
He's like smiling, like, yeah, bring it on, like aliens.
what would be unless they were just a super nice alien race? Why wouldn't they come here?
Why wouldn't have they come here already?
Yeah,
That's the question. If
It can't be for resources. If they have visited us, it cannot be for resources.
I
Planet
think
Earth
by
is
the
not that
time
unique.
yeah.
I could be putting a very like self-centered view onto this, but I think by the time you get to that level of being able to make first contact on another planet, you've achieved a certain amount of enlightenment yourself within your own
Yeah,
like culture.
What if they deem us too violent?
like the
And maybe
Krogan.
that's why we haven't been contacted. Maybe they're like, they can't even figure out their own problems. We'll give them a couple hundred years. We'll check back. Still haven't figured out their own problems. Once they
Oh,
figure
they
out
just-
their own
How
problems,
cute. They just got the
Yeah.
internet.
like,
Oh, they can call someone around the world instantaneously. That's cute.
like, oh, they're still killing each other over this book. let's hold off for a second.
Oh, they haven't landed on Mars yet and had people walk around. Oh, okay. Let's hurry up.
Oh, they're still getting addicted.
We'll
to
give him Elon
substances.
Musk.
Yeah.
He's an alien.
like, like I don't know. There's so many flaws with humanity that I can see from an outside perspective. If you really were that level of advanced, you probably would wait until we figured out our shit. You know?
Yeah,
I don't know, man. Like, I'm trying to think of like the first like, what do they do? Just fucking teleport into the Oval Office and go, "Hello, Mr. President."
well,
I don't think it's the Oval Office either. I think it's something.
the closest one that comes to my mind is like Arrival. The movie.
Yeah.
They just show up, multiple spaceships
In
placed
multiple
at
locations.
multiple locations, and they kind of just are there as who come talk to us.
There's also the theory that they've been guiding us all along, trying to get us to a path that we want.
If they did that, if they just showed up, the military fires on them, right? I mean, it obviously is probably to no effect, but
Then we die. No,
there's
I don't
no way
They would have to
of
expect-
spaceship parks in DC, and they're like, oh, "Fuck it, man, we're just gonna see like let's Jimmy get up there and talk to them, see if they like you."
I don't know.
No.
They
No
wouldn't
way.
do anything without 100% assurance that they would be okay. So, I don't know. I think,
What do you mean, the aliens?
yeah.
Yeah.
They wouldn't get.
Well, they
involved.
could be so advanced that they just send their like cyborg versions of like their digital versions of
They just send a drone.
Yeah.
It's
Let's
like
FaceTime.
like
You walk-
Forbidden Planet, like a really like shitty looking robot. Like
They send you they send you a tablet to then FaceTime with them. That
you have to
has
download their app.
two-factor authentication. God dang it! Kind of shit.
You have to register your vaccination status. Scan a barcode.
You have to sign their
Got my passport. Yeah.
terms and agreements. Do you sign over the whole human race to be a slave colony?
Anal probing
sure.
may or may not.
I'll accept the terms.
Dude, that actually might be the best way, right? Because it'd be so comical to just have like, because then they really studied us before just visiting. Like, I think it would be great if they came here, and if they really wanted to like introduce themselves, introduce maybe this galactic society of aliens or whatever. Because I'm sure
The Galactic Society.
it's not gonna just be the
aliens.
one. They probably are gonna be, I'm envisioning like an Enterprise, Starship Enterprise type thing.
Have you heard of the GSA?
But
Welcome aboard.
They use our language.
Yeah.
But I honestly think the way that they should do it is through humor. Like literally get here and the first thing they say is like a yo mama joke or something like that to just make everyone calm. I think that would be the best way. You have to like
Bring
get people
me to your mama.
No, your mama's so fat. Like she just does like
I don't think that would
silly-
work. I think you're onto something with the humor. I think maybe the yo mama joke.
I'm
might
just
be-
using it as a
I know.
placeholder, but I think if they use some kind of humor and broke the ice, I think that would speak volumes and go a long way to making people feel comfortable. But I think that they should literally, it needs to be something like
You know who?
You know,
If that's
They
how
make
they
a
lean into,
mixtape.
I'm picturing like Robin Williams. Like,
Mork from Ork.
well, just him as a character,
Oh,
who he
okay.
was as a person.
yeah,
That's what I'm picturing when you say that.
just the most spastic guy. Like, what
Like-
the fuck?
Like I'm just
I'm-
picturing something.
I'm imagining the first contact. They just show up on like Jimmy Fallon tonight
Tonight.
as a guest.
Oh God, please
They're
not
like,
Jimmy Fallon.
hey there, I'm Splork, and I.
Splork. I've learned your language.
We've got great donuts on the Starship. Whoever wants to come, you're more than welcome.
I'm here to do a stand-up show.
Hey man, I
mean,
honestly
well,
think it'd be cool. I think that you would go a long way if you did something like that. Versus the alternative, which scares the shit out of me. It's just like, we are anonymous. I would be fucking freaking out, dude. I hate those videos, man.
Well, think about how we, as a society, ourselves deal with uncontacted tribes just on Earth. We don't touch them. We don't get involved. We've
Videotaped
Yeah, but
them sometimes.
That's to protect
we've
them.
tried. Yeah, that's to protect them. Exactly. What if aliens are thinking that same thing about us?
But I feel like those tribes never really show a desire to.
Do we, as a society?
We're taking pictures of it. Space.
I don't think at any
don't-
point.
We haven't
Maybe-
figured out our own shit though
maybe-
on this
yeah.
planet.
But here's the thing: like the transition from "there's no aliens" to "oh my god, there's aliens" is a disruptive one. I don't think maybe these little teaser videos where people just sort of go, "Okay, I guess aliens are real." I mean, already people, you probably ask 80% of people and go, "Yeah, there's intelligent life somewhere in the universe." I mean, I would imagine it's probably half the freaking world. And at least in another 25 years, it's going to be way even more. So maybe they keep doing these like teasing things, but like that transition is going to be an enlightening one. I don't think there's anything that you can do to make it like really, really smooth. It's
What if
just like,
we've-
hey, surprise.
What if we've already made contact in there? Have you ever seen Paul,
Hi, I'm Paul.
the movie?
Jimmy Neutron. Paul.
Sorry.
Yes, that one. No.
Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
Paul?
Jimmy Neutron.
So in the Seth Rogen movie, he's an alien, right? And he says that like they made contact a long time ago, and the government has been slowly drip feeding us images of them to get us used to the when they eventually do show up.
And then the reason why they stopped invading was because he got a blowjob, right? In that movie. Are you talking about the Are you talking about the
They weren't
Neighborhood
invading.
Watch movie
No.
with Ben Stiller?
No.
Paul.
It's literally called
It's
Paul.
It's called Paul.
Simon Pegg.
It's an
Oh.
amazing movie. You need to
I
watch
don't think
it.
I've ever seen it. Have you ever seen
I was
Neighborhood
like,
Watch?
I mean, it's been
Or
a
the
while
whole-
since I've seen it, but I don't remember that
You ever
part.
see the movie Neighborhood Watch?
Yeah, I've seen
Where
that.
I haven't.
I always wanted to try to get a blow, and then he gets one, and he's like, "I'm gonna save this race. You compassionate," because he goes to a swinger party or something. It's a stupid movie. I literally, I heard Seth Rogen, I was like, oh, I didn't really know it was in that movie, but okay.
Is Seth Rogen even in Neighborhood? I
Is
don't
that what
think
you
he
said?
is.
No, he's not. But I
No.
thought maybe he's a producer or something. Fucking, I don't know.
Seth
He
Rogen
plays the
is
alien.
the alien.
Oh, he is the alien. Okay.
Yeah.
He's like a gray, like
Oh,
the
okay.
gray looking one.
Yeah.
It's a really good movie. I'd recommend it.
Okay.
It's one of my favorites.
I think it's very hard to actually wrap my head around what they would do on First Contact. I don't think
What
it
if
would
they
be
just send an email to everyone with
Yeah,
like a
one
photo,
email.
like a photo, and like a
It goes
thumbs
straight
up.
to our spam.
They're like,
It's like,
That's why they
help.
haven't.
yeah.
I'm a deposed king of Nigeria. I need your help.
That's them trying to contact us,
Yeah,
guys.
it's code.
I just don't think there's any good way of doing it. Like, you can't just park a spaceship. You know what? Actually, maybe you show up in outer space where we have like no ability. Like they show up, by Mars or something where we have no ability to shoot anything at it. Right? But we could
Everything's
target it. We could see it. We see images, and we know something's up. And
We
everyone's
would
no,
try.
because the fear of the unknown.
We would try to nuke them.
Everything would be sold out of Walmarts and Costco's because everybody would be stocking up for Armageddon. I actually think that would be bad if they made themselves aware before they made themselves like known as chill.
What about radio broadcast?
Too old school. Radio broadcast. That's creepy because you need to see them.
They would have
you don't
to
know what they look like.
They would have to be abrupt in that they would have to state their like mission and purpose very quickly. Otherwise, the fear of the unknown, like you're saying, humanity would just freak the fuck out if they didn't know what they were there for. So I don't think it could be any level of why is this person here? What is going on? It's the rapture. Let's kill each other. Like, I don't know. Like,
What if they're so advanced that they learn about our culture and then they superimpose, like they send down a liaison to be, communicate with us, but they've put it inside of an avatar that is known to like not be aggressive to us. So it comes out in like a squishy bunny and it's like this really pleasant, happy looking thing.
That'd still be creepy. If
No.
starts talking
and then
to
it
me.
starts talking to, and then it's like, it builds a relationship, jokes around. You're like, oh, fucking, it's fluffy, it's cute, like this is awesome, it's super advanced. Like, don't piss it off, And then it says like, hey, by the way, I don't look like this. Oh my god,
that would.
I think that might be a way. Like, you could ease into the transition, like. Because if they look like just fucking absolute units, and it's like they're just like straight up all Dwayne
We are the
Rock
great
guys.
and powerful Ogs.
They're all looking like Thanos. Like, people are gonna shit themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Or what if?
Or they're like an ant.
Hear me out. And what if they have the ability to release like a worldwide pheromone that induces calm and
Dude, you're a genius.
makes you feel comfortable and okay?
That's literally the plot line for Firefly.
Yeah.
And then everyone becomes hyper aggressive. It reacts terribly.
Well, they've studied and they've tested it out on their version of monkeys to make sure
probes.
that
That's
it
what
would
the probing anal probes is.
exactly.
No, what if they've developed a way? Because our brains basically work as like synapses, just electric.
They just turn off all of our brains.
No, they just
They lobotomize.
they just implant memories and knowledge that aliens exist and this is what they look like, and you're okay with it, and that's bloop. And on one day, like one instance, I don't know they exist. I have no recollection. In the other instance, I know they exist. I know all about them. I speak their language, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, we are limiting ourselves because we're projecting our own like
Rules.
technology and rules onto them. They could do something like that.
Yeah.
Just like immediately okay with it, and then it's like, yeah, Paul, pull up to the driveway, dude. Let's throw a Ranger, bro. That wouldn't be how it goes, but you know what I'm
It
saying?
also
Like
makes
we're just
everyone
okay with
like surfer bros.
who knows, man?
No, I think it would be something like that. You know, like something that.
Because they wouldn't want to spook us.
Well,
And I
yeah.
don't think there's any way to not do that.
And I've always been kind of thought process that aliens, while yes, some of them might look humanoid, we have no clue. They might not even be visible in our
Yeah, with our
spectrum.
senses.
The spectrum we can see, we might not even be able to see them.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, there could be one right here, and we would have no clue because he exists on a different plane of existence.
They exist as like a light source.
Yeah.
Or like,
Dude, on my worldly travels, I just learned about a whale that only speaks in a 54 hertz voice. And the really, really sad thing is, whales can only hear between 15 hertz and 52 hertz. And so he's calling out to like a mate, and literally no one can hear him. And it's like a very sad, lonely story because he's been looking for a mate forever, and he's like literally singing the wrong tune. It could be literally a case of that where we do not physically embody the skill set to identify like there might be one chilling right here, but he's in another dimension.
He's UV.
song
We
just
can't
now.
see UV light. We can't see UV light
Right.
naturally. So there you go. A whole nother spectrum of
Right.
light.
We
He
have
could
no
be
idea.
boom right there.
They might have like a certain awareness that just is so advanced. The universe is so fantastically old, like 14, 13 billion years old.
No, the universe started when Earth was.
And humans have been around for 200,000 years. And like really humans have been around for
Imagine
really only like
if-
15,000 years, like as we know them, like in terms of the doubling of human brain and shit like that. Like,
well,
15,
imagine if
10,000 years.
humans. Okay, setting
That's
aside
so nothing.
setting aside all of the evolutionary things that made that impossible, but imagine if there was no extinction event and humans have been on planet Earth for the last 300 million years, even. That's very possible on other planets and other solar systems and we are so minimal compared to that 14 billion potentially that we're at there. It's wild to think about. It's hard to wrap your head around. It's also very fun to talk about.
Yes, so fun.
I think Neil deGrasse Tyson did a bit on this in the show Cosmos, where it was like if you laid out the entire history of the universe as a calendar, like Earth has only existed for the last 8 seconds of December 31st.
Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah.
Like the Earth, not just humans. Like if you did humans, it's like a fraction of a second. But I think it's been years since I watched that, but it was something along the lines of that. It was just like such a short amount of time. Who knows? We think like of ourselves as becoming advanced and stuff like that, but we're so early in this game, and this game is very old. So I could talk about this forever. But the James Webb Telescope, if you guys haven't seen the photos that have come from that, because there's been a couple now.
To just go to our space, Reddit, and they have all kinds of stuff on there now about it.
r/space.
And they're still taking photos.
Yeah.
There's still more coming in. So
Yeah. It's going to be coming in for years to come. So keep in tuned with that stuff, because if you ever get bummed about the world, go look at that stuff, man.
what if the
Stuff will
first
cheer you up.
contact is just one day we're waiting on one of the James Webb photos to upload, and all of a sudden it's just an alien peace sign right in the photo.
Dude, they infiltrate our society through memes. They just start spamming Twitter with
Through
memes.
James Webb.
They're just literally like making memes of everything. That would be funny. See, I think
But it's all
I
memes
honestly
that
think-
like no one knows the source or where it came from. It's just
Yeah.
slowly like
if they can't find a way to superimpose like memories and knowledge into us, I actually think that would be by far the best because then we can immediately know how to like speak their language. Because I'm sure that there's like this is like we're moving towards a planetary language like English. I guarantee you there's going to be like a singular galactic language. Who knows? Maybe it's way more efficient.
Maybe it's a
English
translator that you go bloop.
Oh, just like Mass Effect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, have you seen Google Translate?
I think it's literally just going to be like you just download that knowledge.
Well,
like I think it's going to get to a point where
in Mass Effect they literally install a translator chip into somewhere on them.
Yeah.
And it comes pre-downloaded with every language known to existence, and then someone will speak a totally different language, and you hear it as your preferred language.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think Michio Kaku was talking about this, where years ago we were able to map the neurons in a tapeworm or something like that, and that was like a big deal. And then he said we just did a cockroach, something like that. We mapped all the neurons in a cockroach, or maybe even something more primitive than that. But he thinks in like the next few decades or so, we'll be able to like map all the neurons, like digitally have all the neurons within a mouse, and then maybe in 100 years or whatever, we'll have the ability to do a monkey or whatever. Like, so it's like we're still in the early stages of like, because we're sitting here talking like everything's going to be imposed on like synthetic material, but I think ultimately our final stage of evolution is going to be digital.
Elon, didn't he already do a patent for a brain chip?
Neuralink is his sort of passion project.
Didn't they already figure out how to power it based off of the electricity from your brain?
No, I think there's like a charger that you literally charge it like whenever you need it. It has like a battery that you like stick a pad to it and it charges it. I think.
So weird.
Yeah, it is. Right.
I'd be afraid it's doing something to my brain.
It's very strange, but they've been able to like stimulate. I think what did they do? Like they were able to stimulate a pig to doing a task that he had never done before. Like they were able to like almost like mind control, but I think it's more of like implanting memories.
Yeah,
like
I'm not getting that chip.
Suddenly this sounds like a bad idea.
You joke, but it's gonna literally come to the point where like that's a performance enhancing drug. Like jobs are gonna require that as a skill.
Yeah.
You will
be like
it's like not owning a smartphone in today's society. It's just impossible.
It'll be like the Matrix. It was like, do you know how to fly this helicopter? Not yet. I need a helicopter program.
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Literally, like I need this skill. Boom, got it. But you can only do that like.
Then you got to charge it with the pad.
It's very strange.
This is like, honestly, this is starting to veer into like cyber psychosis territory. Like you're just gonna go nuts and start killing people.
Well, in some sense, we're already cyborgs, right? Like we're attached to the hip of these devices. Mm-hmm. I mean, literally, the average. I would say the average
I gave up
American,
my smartphone and I only have a flip phone now. I think it's really enlightening.
Is that what you made the meme on?
Yep, it's pretty good for a flip phone, right?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I see a lot of people doing that though. It's like a trend now.
Well, literally, people are spending 5-6 hours. That's not an non-normal thing. 5-6 hours on their phones every day.
Well, I'm totally for merging with technology. The only part that scared me about that Elon thing is the whole they changed how the pig felt. And it's like, oh, that's pretty scary stuff. There needs to be stuff in place before I get a chip in my brain that can alter my feelings.
Yeah, it's definitely way ahead of its time. It needs cultural adoption.
Cautiously, like optimistic about the merging of stuff like that, but right now I'm still very hesitant on anything to do with brain activity. That is what I'm hesitant. Dude,
Damn.
my phone.
It's getting pissed
phone.
at you because it's like, oh, you're gonna trade me in for a flip phone. Huh?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I just got ratted out.
I don't understand.
I don't have my flip phone has said that.
I don't understand why you trade me in. That's what it's saying.
it's scared that I said that. I don't.
Understand that. Why?
Why would you do that to me?
Oh man, we went on a long couple tangents there.
It was so worth it.
We're at 2 hours.
This
now,
was, I think, our longest episode
By far.
which you know what? It was fun. It was deserved.
We missed as a crew the last couple, so
this is to make up for it. But we're gonna call it here tonight for this episode. So they can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter under KD Ratio Podcast, where we put regular episode updates, memes, and then we are uploading to YouTube now. And then if you give us a like, subscribe, we'd really appreciate it.
And thanks to all the people who have been reaching out to us.
Yeah.
We've received a few messages and comments and stuff like that. So it's exciting to see that and hear your guys' feedback. So appreciate all of you.
Yes. And remember, with a good KD, you get the dub.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.